All right, so these questions went to the Malcolm X Farce on Washington. This is the yellow paper. You just got done doing the March on Washington, the peaceful demonstration, why it was so great. Passage 1, that article about how great the March on Washington was, definitely involves a lot of Martin Luther King's contributions and how it was such a magnificent day for many people. Then you answered the questions that were on the purple paper with the QR codes. You got some feedback with those with the QR codes, so hopefully those questions were okay. Remember, as usual, you are allowed to email me any questions about maybe, perhaps why you had got one wrong or not. So these questions on the yellow paper are more towards a different viewpoint, the viewpoint of Malcolm X, and why he actually thought the quite opposite, that the March on Washington was a disaster and not a good thing for anybody. And so it's a complete opposite viewpoint. So these questions on the yellow paper were about that. So let's see how you did. I want to kind of talk to you about why the correct answer should have been the one you picked, just to give you some information. So you have your yellow paper out right now. You're checking your answers. The purple paper and the yellow paper are just practice. Soon you are going to have one that will be for a grade. So remember, yes, you could watch this video and just, circle B on number 1 because I tell you to, but you're not getting any practice. So when I do send you something that is for a grade, please don't be shocked if you don't do well because you haven't practiced. So this is kind of, this is on you to be doing this the right way. Okay, so number 1 needed to be the answer B. He was hoping to expose the problems with the march that many Americans considered a complete success. The author's purpose, Malcolm X wanted everybody to understand that the March on Washington wasn't as great as everybody made it out to be. So that was the whole purpose behind the article. So hopefully you have B. As you can see, for some reason, if you picked the answer that was not it, you can briefly pause the video and you can see my explanation as to why it was not a good answer to pick. But for the sake of time, I don't really want to go over all that, but you are more than welcome to pause and see what I did. All right, so number two, you have to find 2 quotes from the text that support the author's purpose. Okay, so C and D are the correct answer because C, definitely, he did not like that they were told how and when and where to do all of these things. That bothered him. And D, whoever heard of an angry revolutionist all of a sudden wanting to be best friends, holding hands and swinging feet like kumbaya. So C and D are the best 2 answers as to why he felt the exact opposite, that the March on Washington was not amazing. All right, number 3. Which evidence from the text supports the idea that Malcolm X thought that the March on Washington was ineffective? So hopefully you picked the answer D. He's saying that it was ineffective. In other words, this march, this way of protesting, there was a children's march, but this particular march on Washington did not work. And he claims this because the people in the higher office, your congressman, your senator, those people in higher office, they did not change their mind. They did not change the way that they felt. There wasn't any movement done as far as changing their minds. They are still racist. So because of that, Malcolm X believed strongly that the March on Washington was a farce because in his mind, nothing got done. All right, just another person's viewpoint. Number 4, Malcolm X uses the simile, it was like salt and pepper, to explain what? So this just is you going back into the article and looking. The mixing of black and white people at the march, that is definitely the correct answer for C. I think a lot of you probably got that one right. I didn't think it was that hard. You're good with figurative language. All right, so let's check out number 5. Based upon this is on the back. Based upon the quote from the text, and by now there wasn't a single aspect uncontrolled. the reader can infer that the marchers who were there to protest were not being able to express all of their opinions. They couldn't even make their own signs. I mean, it was so organized. The March on Washington was so organized and so planned that people who came to it couldn't even write their own beliefs and messages on their signs. The signs were actually already made for them, and all of the signs had the same saying. So Malcolm X just basically wanted to puke at this. I mean, the idea of nobody being able to express how they really felt angered Malcolm X. Here you can see a picture of all of the pre-made signs, and this is exactly what Malcolm X's point was. How in the world are you going to express your opinion and your viewpoint on what we are fighting for with our rights when the signs have already been pre-made for you, and every single sign had the same thing? So anyways, I think it was really interesting that the signs were pre-made. There's a couple different sayings, but for the most part, they all look the same, and more importantly, what is on them was chosen for them in advance. So, these are just some of the things that really upset Malcolm. So A would be definitely the best answer for number 5. When we look at number 6, this is asking you to look at an excerpt from Malcolm X's biography that he wrote. And it is just like a little chunk of it. Remember, we've talked about what the word excerpt means. It's just a small part from a piece that is larger. So this is from a book, and it's just part of it. Groups of Negroes were talking of getting to Washington any way they could, in rickety old cars, on buses, hitchhiking, walking even if they had to. They envisioned thousands of black brothers converting together upon Washington to lie down in the streets, on the airport runways, and on government lawns, demanding of the Congress and the White House some concrete civil rights action. Malcolm X is saying in this book that this is what the plan was, that we were going to go there and be aggressive and demand for some concrete civil rights action. So the text above is an additional excerpt from Malcolm X's biography, and it shows the reader the original idea for the March on Washington. What is the best inference that the reader can draw based upon the text above? The best inference that you could make is probably C, because at some point, if this up here is what was supposed to happen, if that's what was supposed to happen, then I can make the inference that the original plan for the march was obviously changed at some point due to the need for a peaceful, non-violent protest. So, I personally feel like what happened with the Children's March, the hose being brought out, the dogs being brought out, it was so devastating and so violent that I feel like they needed something very peaceful right now. So Martin Luther King, I think, was preventing any outbreaks by being too aggressive during the march and kept it very peaceful. And Malcolm X was not happy with this because I think Malcolm X probably felt like the March on Washington set them back a bit, to be honest with you, and that nothing was really accomplished during that march. Now, this is, again, all Malcolm X's opinion, okay? So hopefully you picked C as the right answer for number 6. Okay, so again, if at any point you didn't really understand why you got one of these questions wrong, take the video and pause it and maybe go back and kind of look at my answers that I have written next to, and maybe that will help you understand why you got one wrong. Oops, bell. Oh, I bet you guys missed that sound, huh? Case, are you listening? I bet you missed that bell sound. So go ahead and go back if you need to listen to any of my explanations again if you missed any of these, or email me any of your questions if you need to. Okay? All right, I hope this helps. Bye, guys. I miss you. I hope everybody's healthy. See ya. Oh, yeah. Keep this in your kit. So the purple paper and this yellow paper, keep it inside your home instruction kit folder. Okay, now I'm going to go. Goodbye.